Over 42 payouts, over 6 figures in payouts. That is what I have achieved in the past 2 years. Now, I am taking you in this video over 5 key lessons that I learned from those payouts. How to pass challenges, but not only pass them, how to actually get paid out by these prop firms. Okay, 5 key lessons on how you can do the same as me in 2025 going into 2026. Now, without wasting any time, let's get started. The number one thing I see traders get wrong is simply not being aggressive enough on challenges. Now, what do I mean by this? I don't mean full porting challenges. Of course not. I mean being aggressive with your data-driven model. Most people don't even have a model. So if you do have a model, you're doing something right. Being aggressive with that model is possible. What do I mean? Well, let's say you take the very first trade on that account. That first trade, let it be 2%. Now, 2% to some of you is very scary. But I'll ask you right now, what is scarier? Being stuck on the challenge for 6 months to a year, or risking 2% for that first trade? Now, what happens if you lose that first trade? You drop your risk from 2% to 1%. If that is the case, your very focus should be getting back to break even so you can be aggressive and risk 2% again. I see too many traders, too many students come to me and say, Loz, I've been stuck on this challenge for 6 months to a year now. And I say the same thing over and over again. Number one, do you have a model? If so, number two, be more aggressive. The problem is most of you take challenges you can't actually afford. Now that is when you can't be aggressive because you're scared to lose that account. That's the number one issue I see traders struggling with. Prop firms are made to be aggressive. You're not made to be trading that for a year, that challenge at least. It is not personal capital. You are not getting paid yet. So you need to be aggressive on that first phase. Now the second thing is for those of you who are funded or when you get funded is drop the risk. Don't just because you passed phase 1 and phase 2 being aggressive now, don't just keep that same risk. It's the biggest mistake as well. It's a huge mistake. I see people get funded, being aggressive on their challenge, get funded, and now they're risking 2%. You will blow that account too quick. Okay, drop the risk now from 2% to 0.5%. And if you want to be a bit more aggressive than that, 1% max. Okay, do not, I repeat, do not go higher than 1%. You are setting yourself up to full failure if you go higher than 1%. Most of you can't deal with that mentally, especially with it being an actual funded account that you can get paid out on. Focus on getting to that first payout. Let me tell you a stat. 80 to 90% of traders who actually get funded do not make it to the first payout. That stat is outstanding. It tells me something as well. It tells me that most people treat the funded stage like a challenge. And that is a huge issue within the industry. Because now you are funded. First of all, you need to focus on getting to that first payout. Why is that? Well, because if you get to that first payout, if you're trading with a reliable prop firm, they give you that fee that you paid to get the challenge, they give you that back. So this account becomes risk-free now. You are literally risking nothing by trading this account if you reach that first payout stage. So that should be your main focus. That's why I say risk 0.5%. You are not going to be scared risking 0.5%. It's just not going to happen. So you shouldn't feel anxiety when you're on this funded account stage. Because remember what I told you, risk 0.5% and just get to that first payout. 80% of traders don't even make it to the very first payout. That is a ridiculous stat. And quite frankly, that stat should just not exist. But it does. And this is the reality. Most of you treat the funded stage like a challenge. Number 3 is trade your data and not your emotions. What do I mean by this? Well, first of all, if you have any data, congratulations, you're in the top 5% of traders. Most traders do not even have data on their model. In fact, I'll go as far as to say most traders do not even know what their next trade will look like. Their current trade will not look like their previous trade. So if yours does, congratulations, you are almost there. But take that data that you've collected on your model. I tell my students this all the time. A lot of one-to-one students come to me and say, I've either not got a model or I've not got data on it. I tell them the same thing every time. First of all, develop your model, but develop it backed by data. Data in real time. You need to forward test that model that you've developed and see how it performs in actual market conditions. When you do, this allows you to trade your data, not trade your emotions. That's very, very important now. Why is that important? Well, if you trade your emotions, logic is thrown out the window. You may as well open up Bet365 and go and spend money there, because that is how you're treating this. However, if you trade data-driven models where you know your win rate, you know your risk to reward, then you can risk percentage on that challenge accordingly. Think about it. If I know my win rate is 70%, think about it. If I know my win rate is 70% or higher, or rather 60% or higher, which is a very good win rate, if I know that, I know I can risk 2% on that first trade, because there's a 70% likelihood I win that first trade. However, even if I lose it, I know that my win rate is going to keep my head above water, and eventually I will get back to break even, where I can again be aggressive and risk 2%. Most of you don't even know what your win rate is. Most of you actually don't even know what your next trade will look like. All of my students, and myself included, know exactly what my next trade will look like. Most of you, now when I've said that before, people have come to me and said that's impossible. It's not impossible. When I say I know exactly what my next trade will look like, I'm not saying I know where I will take that trade. I know exactly what the framework is behind that trade though. I know there will be logic, narrative, and then the framework for my entry model to execute upon. That is what I know. In my next trade, next week, more than likely, there will be that logic and framework that I'm used to. That's because I am a data-driven trader. If you are not a data-driven trader, you are a losing trader. Now, the fourth lesson I got from my 40 plus payouts is that 2, 3, 4, 5% is enough. Anything more than 5% is doing too much. You don't need more than 5%. 2 to 3% a month is more than enough. Think about that if you had a $200,000 funded account. 3% on that is $6,000. Let's say after payout splits and everything, you end up with $4,500. That is more than most of you earn in your 9-to-5 job a month. And you can do it in 2 weeks. That is why I say 2 to 3% is more than enough for most of you. $5,000 a month, which is very reasonable if you have that $200,000 account, is more than enough. Let's be honest, it's probably more than what you earn right now. And you can get it by doing less. My mantra inside of my Discord is doing less to make more. Now, we can do less because they have models. I've given them my personal models. I've given them my personal data-driven models. You do not have that. First, you need to develop it. That's why it goes step 1, 2, 3, and now 4. Again, if you get to 5% for the month, you should cut your trading there. Cut it completely and just take that 5%, because like I said, it is more than enough. You only need that much, and even 5% is a lot. If you make 5% a month consistently, you are in the top 0.05% of traders, 0.1% of traders, okay? You are in that upper echelon if you could do that consistently. Now, 5% is very, very good returns. You don't need 5%. But for example, the max allocation, which I have and I achieved in February, I've had it before, I blew it. That was 2 years ago when I didn't know completely what I was doing. Now, I have max allocation with FTMO, which is $400,000. I'm 7-figure funded across multiple firms, but with FTMO, I'm $400,000 funded. 5% of that is $20,000. That is more than enough to live comfortable, especially for you guys. So please realize that 2, 3, 4% is absolutely what you need. And when you hit that stage, let that be it. Take your profits and actually pay yourself. That leads me on to the final step, which is 5. Capital over everything. The amount of capital you achieve will determine how much money you earn. Now, that is a simple statement, but if you apply it, really think about that. If I can achieve 7 figures funding, so can you. 2 years ago, I was in university not making any money at all. I dropped out and I was struggling. Then I found my model, I developed my model, and now I'm 7-figure funded with multiple firms. Now, if I make 2 to 3% a month, that is a very profitable month. Over the space of a quarter, that is a very profitable quarter. And this is what you guys have to start thinking like. You must adopt the mindset of a 7-figure funded trader. Now, the reason I say capital over everything is because obviously 2% on a 50k account compared to 2% on $1 million funding is a lot different. But the mindset to achieve both is the exact same thing. And the trades taken to achieve both are the exact same thing. That's what you're missing. That's what you're not thinking about. And it's when people come to me saying, I don't know what to do, I want to take a $200,000 challenge. I say, you should not do that. First of all, you have $0 funding. You should not be trying to get $200,000 funding. You should work up to that. Do you even have a model? If so, does it actually work? That's a big problem. I see people think they have a model. They haven't even tested it. Have you passed any challenges in the last 3 months? No, your model probably doesn't work. And that is the final step. If you combine all of those 5 lessons I learned from my 40 plus payouts and my 7-figure funded accounts, you will make it in this game. You will achieve all these goals you want to achieve, and financial freedom is just around the corner for you. If you are interested in the exact roadmap I take my students down to achieve funding, max allocation, $200,000 funding, and eventually 7-figure funding, click the top link in the description. That will take you over where you can apply for my one-on-one coaching. I build individual roadmaps for each of you to achieve your goals. I have a folder on every single one of my one-to-one students, and I track their progress. We take weekly one-to-one calls, and I tell them exactly what they need to do to take that next step. If you are interested in that, click the top link in the description. Anyways, I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for the support as always. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.